Mensah will be joining me for court today. And later on in the show, we'll have a conversation, the breakfast review segment with our guests. We'll delve into the issues and also look at exactly what their thoughts on those issues are. Then we have some very, very interesting interviews also lined up from now till 10 a.m. And so I'll be keeping you company here on the show. And do well to join us also on Facebook, on X, and on YouTube at GHOne TV. We are streaming live there. And the good part of it is that you can also send in your thoughts, your comments, your views, and your contributions, because you are a very big part of the show. So welcome aboard once again, and let's have a wonderful round here on the show. But let's start with the quote for the day. So the quote for this morning is from Scott Fitzgerald. He says, "Strength shows not only in the ability to persist, but the ability to start over." Strength shows not only in the ability to persist, but the ability to start over, by F. Scott Fitzgerald. So yes, sometimes it feels like when you're starting something anew, then you might feel, oh, you're weak. No, it's also a show of strength. It takes strength to admit that, no, what you're doing is failing, so you need to look at another way of doing it, starting it all afresh. And that's from F. Scott Fitzgerald with the quote of the day. Let's check out the word of the day.
Today's word is IRREPARABLE. Take note that the word is pronounced irreparable, not irreparable. It's an adjective. If you describe something as irreparable, it means it is impossible to repair or make right again. Let's exemplify it. The devastation caused by Galamsey to our forest reserve is irreparable. Irreparable.
So, teacher Noreen there with irreparable, extra tall guy, giving us the word of the day. But let's now zoom into Inside Out for this morning. So the NPP announced that over the weekend they were kickstarting a thank you tour, and that is common with our political practice here in the country. And so we see political parties who have won elections now go on tour and thank the electorate for voting for them. We also see political parties who lost, also majorly the largest opposition party at any given point, also embark on a thank you tour. And this time, it's taking a twist for the New Patriotic Party. Why? Because of the defeat the party suffered in the 2024 general election. So we saw one that has never been recorded in the history of the NPP. A defeat that is so loud that the NPP is still yet to recover from. And so the thank you tour has taken a different dimension. Now, people or communicators for the party who hitherto used to praise the accolades of their flag bearer, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, at the time, are now bashing him. And so let me take you to that tour. Let's listen to Dr. Bawumia, the comments he made that triggered some members of the party who are now castigating him. Let's listen to him.
All the studies are so far. The big issues are, one, cost of living. Nema bo e kosoro ahochiri ebai de kanu eye adia yefreno arrogance of power. Yasu na eyeti. Yasu edi yetie asem. Party for country say yenye reshuffle. And yes, sir. 8 years, Yankee.
So this is something that I'm sure that a lot of Ghanaians would agree to. Because, yes, We saw the cost of living. We felt it in our pockets. And any time that people voiced their concerns about these issues, what did we see from the NPP? Oh, Ghanaians are not, we are not seeing things rightly. In fact, whenever you raise any concern about hardship, then you're tagged to be an NDC person. So any time that Ghanaians raise these concerns, the party turned a blind eye and ear to these. And so Dr. Bawumia now says that from what he's gathered, likely from the Okwe report, the cause of the MPP's defeat was due to these factors: arrogance of power by some appointees, the fact that the government did not listen to the plight of the people, and not necessarily the Russia-Ukraine war and the COVID-19 that we were told over the period. Whenever you say there is hardship, say yes, Russia-Ukraine. Oh, people are suffering, COVID-19. Meanwhile, we saw the affluent lifestyles of those who were appointed by the government. So Dr. Bawumia says that this is what data says, that we did not lose because I am Muslim, which he has already stated earlier, but we lost because we refused to pay attention to the concerns of the people. He talked about National Cathedral. People were against it. E-levy, we were all against it. He said, yes, everywhere in the world, people don't want to pay taxes. But is this the tax that we wanted to pay? Is it the fact that we don't want to pay taxes? Or we said this particular levy was retrogressive. MPP said, no, you people, we are building Ghana. We are trying to build an economy. And the president at the time said he was in a hurry, so let's do things differently. We talked about the size of government. President Akufo-Addo says, I needed this number of ministers to make sure that I do what I am supposed to do to turn the fortunes of Ghana around. So Dr. Bawumia now says that this is what led to our defeat. And then interestingly, let me pull out this thing for you quickly. So Palgrave Boakye Dankwa, he's a very good friend of the station, Dr. Palgrave Boakye Dankwa. He usually comes. I remember speaking to Palgrave on Start Today, campaign trail, before the elections. And then he was clad in the MPP flag and says, God has revealed that Bawumia will be president. In fact, Dr. Bawumia is the man that Ghana needs. And he even blasted in tongues on the show. I said, hey, Palgrave. Now it has taken a spiritual dimension, but he says that is it, this is it, it is done. Do you know the kind of people I've spoken to who have told me that when the stars are aligned, things are aligning, Dr. Bawumia is the man to lead Ghana? I said, oh, I wasn't there, I didn't see some, so let's see how it goes. Now Palgrave says what Dr. Bawumia is doing, stating what led to the defeat of the NPP and calling on party members to now say we are sorry for this, so let's re-strategize to make things better. Palgrave said no, there is something Dr. Bawumia is doing, and that is he's seeking to exonerate. He was a driver's mate. At which point, and it's quite interesting because Palgrave also asked, as a mate, who told you that you didn't have opinions on matters? You were with the top. In fact, you were at the top with the boss. So what Dr. Bawumia is doing is basically trying to now throw former President Akufo-Addo under the bus. But then there's been a response from Nana Akumia saying, Palgrave, you cannot say this. Palgrave, you were a former government appointee. In fact, you were the government spokesperson on governance and security. So you cannot say that what Dr. Bawumia is doing is just seeking to paint the NPP black and then exonerate himself just so that he looks good in the eyes of the people. In fact, during the campaign season, I'm sure you heard it. I remember doing campaign uncensored here, and the kind of bashing that Dr. Bawumia received, not only from the NDC, but sometimes even within his own party. Palgrave says, no, Dr. Bawumia, you can't do this. And we know it is because there is a lot of tension in the NPP now. A party that is supposed to regroup and reposition for 2028, it seems that things are not going as they would have wanted. But we'll leave it there. Nana Akumia has responded to Palgrave, told Palgrave, my brother, don't be making this noise. No, don't be saying these things. Things are changing. And so please, Dr. Bawumia never said he's not shifting blame whatsoever. And I'm sure that we'll get a counter response to this. But let me talk to you about the NPP and how they are seeking to regroup. Now, one of the most important reports in Ghana now is the Okwe report. Have you seen it? Well, I've not seen it. But it looks like everything in the Okwe report is on page 66. It's on page 66. It looks like a lot is there. But let's listen to Dr. Bawumia again, and then we'll come and talk about that. But let's talk about, let me now take you to page 66 of the Okwe report. Now, so many things have been said, but before that, I spoke about 3 weeks ago. I had a conversation with a member of parliament for Okankwe Central, Patrick Yalboama, a very calm gentleman, one who seems to have some level of liking even across the board. From the NDC side, people talk to him and say, oh, this guy is cool. He's not like, oh, you know, that he's not your typical politician who is aggressive. He's taking things cool. Now, when I spoke to him, he made a call on this platform, in fact, on State of Affairs on GHOne television, about how the party, he says that his expectation of the Okwe report should be that number one recommendation should be a general amnesty for party people. Mind you, he's also the secretary to the disciplinary committee of the NPP. Agyapong's issue. We've had party members who have been sacked from the party. We've had over 173 in Yendi alone who've been sacked because the party says they were engaged in anti-party behavior, to which they were supporting independent candidates, among others. Listen to that interview I had with Patrick Yalboama. When we come back, I'll tell you what is happening because of that interview.
General amnesty must be given. General amnesty must be given to. We know this person left or this person has been sacked. Issues from Yendi, I've seen some letters. Guna West. Yeah. They are NPP people. Let's bring them back. Let's sit down with them. Let the committee have a very serious group to go around all those constituencies to resolve and bring them back into our fold. After all, they all want to see the MPP win. Mm-hmm. So why ask them to leave? Some people came to the parliament with 50 votes, 5,500, 200, 172. So it tells you that every vote is important. We are sitting here talking about voter apathy. Those people would have called friends not to show up at the polls, and it affected us. The NDC still got their 6 million plus votes. What did we win? Get 4 point something. But even in 2020, we're able to hit our 6 million, 6.5 million and over votes. So we need a general amnesty for everyone who has been wrongfully dismissed from the party, suspended, or from Mr. Paul Afoko, Mr. Whoever.
So that's Patrick Yalboama making the call for the general amnesty some 3 weeks ago, before all of this that is happening now started. Now, very calm, very, very composed, but he was very firm in the belief that we all know that politics is a game of numbers. And so for a party like the NPP that was able to get something like over 4 million votes in the last election, this is indicative that there is something fundamentally wrong with the party. We need to start shoring up numbers. The party needs to do that. And so a party that is in that position cannot afford to now be dismissing members, suspending members, doing all of this. So he says that as part of the Okwe report, which is to look at why the NPP lost and then the way forward, he is suggesting that number one on that recommendation list should be a general amnesty for people. Now, the interesting bit is that after making these comments, it looks like the top echelons of the NPP are now picking up on this. Now, people have found cause to believe that, well, this is the way to go. We cannot remain vindictive. And so let us all bring people together. Let's bring all our people together. Let's not divide the party further. That is how people are feeling now within the NPP. And so we've seen that front runners, people who had even contested the flag bearership race of the NPP in the past, are now picking up on that. So the latest to join that is Kennedy Agyapong. He's also joined this. He says Patrick Yalboama is right. We need to do that. We need to bring people back into the party, the NPP, into the elephant family. And so listen to him on the thank you tour. He's also making the same call 3 weeks after Patrick Yalboama has made.
Former Asin Central MP and prominent stalwart of the NPP, Kennedy Agyapong, called on the party's national executives to grant unconditional amnesty. Notably, former national chairman Paul Afoko and former Trees Minister Alan Kodjo Charmantin.
Regional and national executives amnesty from Afoko to everybody that has been suspended. Amnesty. You're suspending my mercy either, or back, or Mr. or number 4.
So that's Kennedy Agyapong also reiterating cause, and it's quite interesting that the first name he also mentioned was Afoko. Patrick Agyapong also mentioned Afoko as the first person. It looks like Afoko must get a very serious amnesty from to be able to be a part of the NPP again, because the party needs not only numbers but also be able to mend all the bridges that were broken in the lead up to the elections. And so the NPP has a huge task. In fact, it's a very elephantaneous task that the NPP has. It should be able to put the elephants back in order and then regroup and reprogram itself for the 2028 elections. And so that's it for Inside Out this morning. All right, so it is time now to bring you the latest, what you should be looking forward to, all that has happened in the... All right, so yes, that is it. Today we have the man Murtala Inusa, the Arsenal fan, the solid man who has issues with people here today. Murtala, good morning.
Kodjo Mensah.
Yes, you are my very good
with
friend.
the saucy voice.
You are my very good friend today.
I know. I know. But what man do man?
What man do man, Murtala?
Kodjo Mensah. What man do man?
You see, Prince Asian, Emmanuel Ejaben, those two guys, you need to call them to order.
We should be very careful with them.
Yeah, we should be very careful of those two boys. Yeah.
It's not easy.
But you and me, we are brothers. Oh my goodness. How was your weekend?
The weekend was very cool, very relaxed. In fact, the rains have also started. So
yes.
It's adding up to things. The weather has become very calm of late and all of that. So it contributed to a very quiet and calm weekend. But in all they say, it was a weekend that those of us from North London were disappointed because those from the Mensah side decided to put draws to the EPL. So now the debate about who is winning the EPL is gone. The Liverpool are in fact, they are default champions because of the injuries and the bias officiating.
It's okay.
To us now.
I know. I know it's on your heart. I know it's on your heart. But we'll deal with that in court. So tell us what is happening in the world.
Yes. So in fact, a lot is happening within the judicial service and judiciary. Ever since we had the information or the news that the lady Chief Justice has been suspended. In fact, a lot is happening administratively. We have the acting Chief Justice in place in the person of Justice Paul Bafuboni. And in fact, there's a statement that I want to show you. This was a memo that came out on the April 23, which directed that all cases that have been filed, an application that have been should be brought to the attention of the acting Chief Justice for assignment to courts and paneling of judges and all of that. So that came out, and when the statement came out, what we did observe was to the effect that it was not signed by the Judicial Secretary that we are used to, but this time round it was signed by the acting Judicial or Deputy Judicial Secretary in the person of Syracuse Bapuro. Then people were asking the question about what is happening. Why is the deputy the one signing a memo to be given to the court registrate and all of that? Then fast forward, let's look at the next. Here you are. There is a confirmation as to why we didn't have the Judicial Secretary sign that particular memo. The acting Chief Justice is informing us that the Judicial Secretary, Justice Pamela, Granting Ado. Granting, in fact, currently a justice of the Court of Appeal has stepped down as the Judicial Secretary. And in the interim, we have the deputy acting as the Judicial Secretary now. But let me go through this particular. So on your screens now, is Justice Pamela Koranting, the former Judicial Secretary.
Right.
And then the new one that is acting now on the right side of your screen, Mr. Bapuro. But let me go through the memo that came informing us about the fact that the Judicial Secretary has stepped down. The acting Chief Justice is saying that, look, at the 291st meeting of the Judicial Council held on Wednesday, 26th March 2025, the Council accepted the request by Her Ladyship, Sarah Pamela Koranting, to be released from the duties of Judicial Secretary. Wherefore, you are hereby directed to assume duties of Judicial Secretary pending decision by the Judicial Council, and the Judicial Council is the highest decision-taking body of the judiciary, and the eventual appointment of a substantive Judicial Secretary. Members of the Judiciary, the Judicial Service of Ghana, and the general public are to take notes accordingly. And this one was signed by His Lordship Justice Paul Bafo-Boni, the acting Chief Justice. So, if you remember, in a few weeks back, I was telling you that you should expect a lot of changes administratively within the Judicial Service. And this is one of the things that was cooking at the time, that the Judicial Secretary, Justice Pamela Koranting, has stepped down. She has resigned from her role. It doesn't mean that she's out of the judiciary.
Yes, but from her role as Judicial Secretary.
That's an administrative role. In fact, within many institutions, if you are the Judicial, if you are the Secretary, if you are the administrative, virtually everything that comes up, you are the one in charge of it. But now she's focusing more on her job as a judge, and she is a justice of the Court of Appeal and all of that.
Right.
But in relation to the memo that came out about the acting Chief Justice asking that new cases, new applications should be referred to his office. The Ghana Bar Association has been raising concerns about, in fact, they had the mid-year conference.
Right.
And they discussed, in fact, the members were informed about the brains behind that particular memo, but the GBA is saying that at the right time, when at this particular point in time, what the acting Chief Justice has told them was to the effect that they note, or he realized that the cases are not being distributed equally. One court 100 cases, you go to another court 5 cases, you go to another court 10 cases, and so it put burden on some of the courts.
Right.
So this particular memo is to ensure that when the cases come, they will assess it and look at the courts that do not have enough on their hands, and then the cases are signed. So on your screens are what took place within the bar conference and all of that. But one interesting thing happened. You note that the GBA has been telling us about their position on the issue about the Chief Justice.
And interestingly, when they started, it was more like, oh, let's all exercise some calm and restraint, let the law take its course. But now they're seeing a position.
I'll tell you in a bit. But first, let's hear from the president of the Ghana Bar Association, Mrs. Efwagati, on a caution to lawyers.
Having been informed as a country that petitions against the Chief Justice have been filed, you are repeatedly asked, at what point in time does the country get to know the contents of the petitions? What if the petitions are frivolous, but steps have been taken which may impugn the reputation of the person against whom the petitions have been filed? Assuming that there is a hearing, how long should the hearing be? Can the Chief Justice elect to have the proceedings heard in public instead of in camera, and many more such questions? This process is a novel one in our history as a country, and we, the bar, must continue to monitor the situation and not hesitate to express our opinion on it where the circumstances demand. It is important that in such matters, justice is not only done, but manifestly be seen to have been done.
So the word that she mentioned, manifestly seen to have been done. But the GBA at this particular media conference discussed matters affecting the legal profession. They discussed matters affecting the judiciary, including the current situation. They also discussed matters in relation to the nation and some resolutions that they came out in the Kumasi conference, and the resolution that they will be taking at this particular forum. Yeah. But before the conversation even started, the GBA said that it is time that it starts leading the proposal for guidelines that will ensure that when an Article 71 office holder is being removed, is being impeached, for instance, in the situation, the example that we have, a judge, the guidelines that should go with it. Let's hear from Mrs. Efwagati again.
Indeed, it is for this reason that in the wisdom of the Supreme Court, in the 2020 judgment of the Republic versus the Chief Justice and the Attorney General, reference number 36/027019, the court led by Kodjo GSC, in the epilogue of the judgment, called for the formulation of rules of procedure for the impeachment of Article 71 office holders in the conduct of proceedings under Article 146 of the 1992 Constitution. The judgment concluded, and I quote, "Judges be accorded a fair measure of justice, fairness and equity in all deliberations that affect them. It is about time that these guidelines were produced in order to eliminate arbitrariness in such proceedings, which ought to be held expeditiously and possibly in open court, given the necessary publicity such matters attract. The bar must take the lead and make proposals in this regard."
The bar must take the lead and make proposals. So one of the things that she talked about was the effect that, the Chief Justice's impeachment process will have to be held in camera. She's looking at, can we have it done in open on television so that everybody will look at it? It's one of the things that they look at. Then moments after, in fact, that program has two sessions. The opening part, which was a panel discussion, has a lot of it, was open to the media and all of that. Then the second section that talk about the sensitivity of the issues within the areas that we are talking about also took place. I know they spoke about washroom and how some of the courts are looking that bad, especially the law court complex in Cape Coast, and the plans that have been put in place to make sure that they have a befitting one. There was also an issue about the Chief Justice situation as at now, and that is where the conversation got very interesting. Even the issue about the memo for the calling of new cases that also came to the fore. The moment later, we're hearing that the GBA is saying that they have passed a resolution that the president revoked the suspension of the Chief Justice. And we're like, ooh, has the GBA departed from its position? Because all that we kept hearing, from the day before the statement came and this very conference, even the president of the bar, the opening statement was clear, setting the tone for the conversation. So it came to light that yes, they discussed the issue about the president revoking the suspension of the Chief Justice. They spoke about issues of Galamsey and how it is affecting the nation and the position that the Ghana Bar Association must take. As we speak, we are waiting for that statement from the Ghana Bar Association telling the whole country that yes, indeed, our resolution is that we want President John Dramani Mahama to revoke the suspension. As we speak, there's no official communication on that. So what you are hearing, everything that we are hearing is from one official source. We've seen some videos about the president of the Ghana Bar Association make that particular, in fact, which suggests to make the point that yes, a decision has been taken, but that one was the section that was not open to
the general public,
and all of that. So the GBA is saying that when you see that particular decision on the official letterhead of the Ghana Bar Association, signed by the president, Mrs. Efuagati, and the general secretary, Kweku Bafo, they believe that that is the statement or that is the position of the Ghana Bar Association.
Until then, assume that whatever we are hearing
is from unofficial source. But they also do not deny the fact that that conversation has been had. So that is the situation. It's getting very, very interesting day in and day out and all of that. So in the coming days or hours, we'll be looking up to the Ghana Bar Association to come out with that resolution, which points to the fact that they are urging the president to revoke the suspension of the Lady Chief Justice because of some petitions that has been filed, and then prima facie has been determined for the issues to be interrogated further.
Interesting.
And in fact, in all of that, the former Deputy Attorney General, Dinah Asonaba Dapa, was also at that forum, and let's hear when we engage here. Hey.
On whatever side you find yourself, what has really come to the fore for me is the gaps in Article 146 particularly, and perhaps all other constitutions regulating the removal or the security of tenure of some public officers. And for me, I think that is where intelligently the conversation should start from. But until then, what does the Constitution say? And we should all be very open and very accommodating of conversations around revisiting what our Constitution and our laws is about. And as academic, I know that better. It's a continual responsibility as Ghanaians, and particularly as the Ghana Bar Association. But until then, having that conversation is a different thing, but it's also not to suggest that they are mutually exclusive. But until then, what does our Constitution says, what our law says, do we do an introspection and do we advance arguments for amendments? The two should not be mixed, but the two also are not mutually exclusive.
Yes, so that is Diana Asonaba Dapa, the former Deputy Attorney General, also adding her view. In fact, there were some interesting discussions about things that are happening within the judiciary. In fact, in our subsequent edition, we'll bring you the panel discussions, the individuals who were there, the legal brains who were there, some of the things that they said, and how the judiciary can be trusted, and things that the bar should do to also support the judiciary in order to improve in that sense. So these are some of the things that took place in the course of the week. And this week we look out for very interesting sittings in the court. The issue about the Akwetia MP will come up this week at the Supreme Court. The decision will be taken in relation to the Judiciary and all of that. There's also an issue regarding the all-time leading goal scorer of the Black Stars. Who is that?
That should be a Samajan.
Yes.
Of course. I think I know a bit of my sports. I know a bit of my sports. So we'll bring you more on
that. So keep watching and keep monitoring. But this morning, this is what I have for you by way.
Charlie Mutala, thank you so much. And don't worry, your lunch is on me. That's Mutala Inusa. That's just to appease him. Let's bring you the sports later. But now, let's bring you the video of the day. Okay, so it's time to bring you the sports, and it's been a heavy banter in the studio already. Some Arsenal fans.
Good morning, Charlie. How was the weekend?
Charlie, we're outside still. Even in the weekend, I'm still hustling.
Easy. The bet, it passed boys to my top.
Oh,
hey,
oh.
But Vim Day. I want to see if I'll start selling something at the roadside. All right, so a lot happened over the weekend.
Right.
And the good news for us is that our GFA president, Mr. Kets Simon Okreku, has been made the new second vice president of CAF. And congratulations to him. And then we have some news from Ghana as well, the U15 tournament. And then the big one is the Olympic Committee elections that we covered. So let's zoom in straight and then start off from the Ghana Olympic Committee, because Mr. Richard Akpokavi Esquire has been elected as the new president of the Ghana Olympic Committee. He actually beat Mr. Mike Agri 44-19 votes. You know what, Joshua? You know what the man said? The man who lost said. Yeah. He said that the delegates have lived up to their name.
Fair delegates.
Yes, fair delegates. So fair delegates happened on Saturday at the Accra International Conference Center. Mr. Richard Akpokavi will now replace Mr. Ben Nuno Mensah as a new president of the Ghana Olympic Committee, and a host of others have also joined him on the board of the committee. And I would also see the likes of Mr. Mauko Afajinu as second vice president, and then Mr. Bannerman, Nilante Bannerman, as assistant treasurer. So a lot of people have been elected on that board of the Olympic Committee. We wish them well. We're hoping that, Joshua, the Olympics is in LA in 2028. So after the World Cup,
we can still go back. Hefty Psalms, and you're asking, where's the trophy? Where's the qualification?
And then they won something for us. So congratulations to them. And it was well organized. Kudos to the GFA. One thing they always do is that they bring the girls schools, the boys schools, and then the senior high schools,
right,
to just support. To support. And it was a brilliant one. So I mean, it was not an empty stadium. There you have the first goal being second goal actually scored there. Congratulations to the girls. $300,000 We hope that the girls will get something. That's what we are just praying for. Now let's move on. Still on CAF. Congratulations to Ket Okreku. Yes, he's been appointed the new second vice president of CAF's executive committee. Yes, so he'll be working gradually. He's getting there. We're hoping that he can go all out and hopefully one day, you never know, become the president of CAF. The former president of the GFA. Why has his name escaped me? The Mr. Nyantechi, yes, was close. He was Charlie. But and I say, hey, boy. Okay, so congratulations to him. Now to the Ghana Premier League. Interesting one there in the Ghana Premier League, because Kumasi Asante Kotoko got a win, and there you have it on your screens. Kumasi Asante Kotoko actually beat Adriana by 1-0, and we saw Vision also beat Bibiani Gold Stars by 2-0. Karela United lost to Dreams FC by 2-1. Brekum Chelsea beat Nations by 1-0. Samatex also beat Basake 3-0. Legon Cities lost to Bando Hearts of Lions. Yes, good morning to Bashir Hayford, Coach Bashir Hayford of Bando Hearts of Lions, and Eric Eliaji, Communication Director of Bando Hearts of Lions. So this actually means that Gold Stars are now on top with 53 points. Nations FC are second with 51 points. Bando Hearts of Lions are third with 50 points. And then Kumasi Asante Kotoko are now fourth with 50 points. So all these four teams can actually win the Ghana Premier League title. And it is getting very, very, very interesting and cagey in there. So Kotoko back to winning ways. New coach in there. Karim Zito getting his first win against Adriana Star. So let's see how it goes in the Ghana Premier League. We have about some few games to go. And all these four teams are going to meet each other. So we are going to see Accra Folk play Kotoko. We'll see Nations FC face Hearts of Lions, and then Bibiani Gold Stars will also face Kotoko. So it promises to be interesting in the Ghana Premier League in the few days to come. Let's go straight. I don't know, Joshua, which flight should we pick? I
think let's use Ghana Airways.
Okay, guys. And then let's move straight to the English Premier League. Congratulations to Leeds. They've been crowned champions of the English Premier League. I'm a United fan. I'm sad, of course, Charlie. But then Liverpool are now champions of the English Premier League, 20th time. So they are now level with Manchester United, and they actually beat Spurs 5-1. Spurs actually got the first goal, but then trust me, Liverpool, there was no way the party was going to be spoiled there, and they had to come back strongly and win that game 5-1. So congratulations to Liverpool as they now are champions of the English Premier League. As for Arsenal, they have nothing to tell them. Arsenal, I have nothing to tell Arsenal fans this morning. So there are 4 games to go, and Liverpool are already champions there. Yes, so there you have it. Manchester United, of course, a big man is always a big man. Trust me. So we have 20 titles, and Liverpool now have 20. Arsenal, the Popo Bilibili team, Lantam would always say Popo Bilibili. They have 13. Man City 10. Everton 9, and then the like Chelsea, Kasanyina 6. They only have 6, and then you see the likes of Leicester City, Sheffield United, West Bromwich Albion, and then Nottingham Forest, all with 1 title in there. Let's move on with Ghana Airways, and then so you have the Wall of Champions and all that. Congratulations to them. You can see that Manchester United dominates. You see red. Yes, we are a big team for a reason. Look at it. Manchester. Then Manchester. Arsenal 1, 2, 3. And then Liverpool 2. Red. We'll be back. Manchester United will be back. Good morning to all Liverpool fans. Congratulations. Let's
the Manchester City fans are not happy with you because they can see about 8 of their logos there. They say Man City is not.
So so Man City 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
So you are just 5 more than them. It's okay.
It's not just. It's not just. It's a whole season. So Manchester United is still Manchester United. Please, right. Manchester United is still Manchester United.
We'll cast the devil out of that red one.
Second,
the red devil. Yeah. The devil will be cast out.
No. The devil is warming up. We'll be back next season. Quickly, last 2 things before we go. So there you have the table. Arsenal, 2nd place, and all that. So with 4 games to go, Liverpool are already champions. Arsenal, I trusted them. I was hoping they could do something. No hope for Arsenal. Good morning to Mutala. He's an Arsenal fan. Copa the Real final. Barcelona beats Real Madrid. This is in the air. I'm fan. I don't know which club you support.
None.
The Lord is with you. So Barca have been crowned champions of the Copa del Rey after they beat Real Madrid after brilliant comeback. Yes. Goal scored. Pedri scored the first goal, and then we saw Madrid come back. Kylian Mbappe gets in a goal, in the net. Chouameni gets in there. Yes, so there you see Mbappe coming on to get the goal for Real Madrid. But then it was not enough because Koundé had other ideas, and then Ferran Torres also gets in the goal for Barcelona. So congratulations to Barcelona, and then let me say a good morning to our social media man who makes sure that this show is always streamed there. He's a Barca fan. If I don't mention his name, I'm sure that he'll not cut this video. So good morning to Godfred. Congratulations to Barcelona. Let's end off with boxing, and Conor Ben and Chris Eubank Jr. What a fight. Joshua, you know what happened?
Talk to me.
You see, before any boxing bout, there's a face-off where you come in and say that,
when they come and show up.
Yeah, I'll show you. So they were supposed to fight 2 years ago, and then the Chris Eubank Jr. had an issue with this doping thing, so the bout had to be cancelled.
Right.
This year, the bout came off. Then, during the face-off, you see the tall man there? Yeah, he brought an egg, and he slapped the short man with it. So he was so pissed. So he came with so much anger. But you see, short people are always full of anger.
Charlie.
But
people will not be happy with you this morning.
I know. I said they say. I'm not saying I am. Jerry is not happy with me.
I mean, come on.
But then congratulations to Chris Eubank Jr. And actually,
so let's start with the Ghanaian Times newspaper this morning. It says localizing natural resource exploration management framework out soon. That's according to President Mahama. It also captures the story of Kennedy Agyapong asking for amnesty to dismissed and aggrieved NPP members. Ghana to issue FLEGT license by June 30, first in Africa. This according to the Lands Minister, and the EU boss here also went to meet him on that. Philanthropist donates 200,000 cedis to Akosombo Dam flood victims, and soldiers allegedly opened fire on mourners, killing 1, 3 injured. It's also on the front page of the Ghanaian Times newspaper. The Daily Graphic says Boko conflict is national wound. Let's treat it with urgency. That's according to the Chancellor of the University of Education, Winneba. And over 50,000 teachers received promotions. That's some good news. Agyapong urges amnesty for former party members. Also running there. IMF chief praises Ghana's latest economic reform efforts. And that's it for the Daily Graphic. The Chronicle newspaper this morning says, no fears, NPP will bounce back. That's according to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Eugene Boache writes, Bawumia has proved me right. E-levy, failure to reshuffle, DDEP caused MPP defeat, not any spirituality. Yeah. So Eugene Boache MP says he's been exonerated by Dr. Bawumia's assertions on why the NPP lost the elections. Also, NPP NDP to demonstrate against suspension of CJ. New Kodiabe residents call for government intervention over land guard threats. And the scripture for this morning, Galatians chapter 4 verse 16. Have I now become your enemy by telling you the truth? That's what the Chronicle. Very interesting choice of, scriptures to back their headlines. Well, the New Crusading Guide this morning, GBA passes resolution to call on President to revoke the suspension of the Chief Justice. We are told that we need to wait for a statement with the signature of the GBA boss and her secretary. Also, Bawumia vindicates Honorable Eugene Boache Nchi's cautionary voice. Massive endorsement for Obria J in law school SRC election. Our polling station executives and grassroots are our greatest assets. I thank them. That's according to Dr. Bawumia on the thank you tour. Woodfields decries land guard attacks over Boteman land. Political parties set to protest on May 5. And then Kwabena set to win UPSA SRC race. Okay, so it looks like they're following the steps of Buru and then Samini as well. Ayene swears not to present cases until CJ is asked. That's according to sources from the Daily Searchlight, claiming that Ghana becoming a banana republic. Ken Crunchy there. Sameuku's second edition of Ofie Market marks huge success. That's also on the front page. And then Bawumia lashes Ekufuado on blame tour. That's how they christened it on the front page. The Daily Statesman is next, says we'll deal with our mistakes. Bawumia acknowledges sentiments of NPP supporters on 2024 defeat. GBA president demands public hearing for CJ case. Ofie Market records success in second edition, and also political parties to protest against CJ suspension and job terminations, and that is scheduled for the 5th of May. That's next week, Monday. We'll be waiting for that. The Custodian newspaper says Bawumia salutes NPP polling station executives and foot soldiers. There's also current Boko chieftaincy conflict and questions asked. NPP 2024 defeat. Kodia cites arrogance of power, internal bickering. There's also second edition of Ofie Market inspires local growth, and 4 parties to hit streets over CJ suspensions and then the dismissals. All right, so those are the papers. Details of what is contained in there, but what we do know, one of the stories that is predominant is the aftermath of the thank you tour over the weekend, what we saw, and then all that has come from there. And so NPP is dominating, yet the party is joining other parties, in fact is leading other parties to stage a demonstration on the 5th of May, that's next week Monday, basically over the issue with the CJ, her suspension, even though we know that that suspension does not necessarily culminate in her termination, because it's supposed to give way for basically some form of investigation into the allegations raised against her. But let's do the Ghanaian Publisher this morning. Arrogance, cost of living sank NPP, according to Dr. Baumia. And also 4 parties to demonstrate against CJ suspension. Also captured there, Afeku fires up Tescon to lead NPP's comeback, and huge attendance at second Ofie Market Day, all captured on the front page of the Ghanaian Publisher. Also the School of Law SRC elections also ongoing, or ahead, and then Obriye J rather seems to be garnering some momentum on the front pages of the newspapers ahead of that particular election. The Daily Post this morning, Randy Abe discovers MERS NPP left at Cocoa Board. Akufo-Addo's governance style has landed CJ in this quagmire. That's according to Ben Kwashi of the NDC. And GBA has finally found its voice. Professor Azan stings association over resolution to reinstate CJ Tokono. That's on the front page of the Daily Post. The Republic Press this morning, Baumia faces backlash for blame shifting after NPP loss. There's also big demo looms, and that has to do with the demonstration slated for the 5th of May. Ken Agyapong begs for Afoko. We know he's also asking for clemency for Paul Afoko and other party members. The Daily Gist this morning, Baumia opens up on NPP 2024 defeat, quotes Okwe report. NDC dumps Zoom Lion is also there. GRA under fire over $1.8 billion money laundering probe. And Mahama calls anger in military. And that's it. And then the news center this morning, Okwe report findings revealed there's also political parties to demonstrate against CJ suspension. IMF chief praises Dr. Forson for economic reform efforts. That's Ato Forson, our finance minister. And then revoked Tokono suspension. That's the GBA to President Mahama. So that's it for the newspapers, but that's not it for the show. Let's go for a quick break. When we return, we'll have discussions here on GA Today. I am Joshua Kodjo Mensah. Stick and stay with us. Well, thank you so much for staying with us here on GH Today on GHOne television. It's time to zoom into the breakfast review segment now. All right, so let's get into the conversations this morning. I have one of my guests already here to help us with the conversation. He is in the person of Atta Issa. He's the Member of Parliament for Sanergu. Issa, welcome.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for the opportunity.
Great. And how is the constituency? I mean, you've been given the mandate to lead the constituency. How has it been so far?
So far, so good. We all know that it is not an easy journey because the idea is that it's people's mandate that you are seeking to serve their interests. So we are doing as much as possible to make sure that we meet the expectation of our constituents.
Right.
And for me, so far, so good. In terms of representation and oversight in Parliament, and also the critical role which is fundamental to why we were elected, is to serve the needs of my people. So currently we are looking towards improving our road networks. We are also improving our water situation. Currently, Tamale, there are huge problems with water in the Tamale metropolis.
Right.
So, and even the surrounding communities, including even Yendi and its environs. So we are also working hard to make sure that we remedy that situation. Aside that, everything is fine.
And the people, what are the expectations of the people of Sanergu, of you? Because this is the first time you're representing them. What are their expectations of you?
The expectations are not much different from the expectation of any other constituency, that you serve their interests. Right. So you must always identify the priority areas of your people. Thus, every politician, I always encourage them to do needs assessment reports, quarterly or yearly, to know the direction in which your constituents want you to pursue. And as we speak right now, there are two critical issues, and I dare say three, that is of topmost priority to many other constituencies in the 5 northern regions. One has to do with water situation. I've already indicated that the current supply from Dalong is no more adequate to meet the expectation of our people. Then the second one has to do with jobs. Job is very critical, and I'm not sure it's only Sanergu that needs a job. And then the third one is, for my particular constituency, the road network.
Right.
Because if you look at Sanergu, we still have a lot of development in terms of roads that we need to do. We only have one principal road entering Sanergu from the Tamale Sports Stadium. The rest are either institutional or a direct commercial route. For example, Tolong, there's a road that transcends from my constituency to Tolong. That is not for me. It is just connecting two viable communities. Then there's one going towards the airport, heading towards Bolga. That is not for me. It is just connecting viable communities, commercial viable communities. And then there's one going to Kombongo. That is not also me. So my inner roads are a big challenge for me. And I am very happy to report that President John Dramani Mahama, through the minister, recently visited my constituency and assured me that the road network will be fixed.
So that assurance is there?
It's there, yeah.
But without timelines?
Yes, we are likely to start some next month or next 2 months on about 18 kilometers. And after that, you know, there are fiscal rigidities in the country.
Right.
We have so much debt overhang in terms of the road sector, about 105 billion Ghana cedis. So whilst we are trying to construct new roads or improve existing roads, we are also mindful of settling our obligations, which we came to meet. And government, according to Article 36, is supposed to be a continuous process. So even though it's the previous administration that entered in some of these contracts, we are trying to also retire those obligations.
Interesting. We'll talk more about Sanergu shortly. But then let me also introduce Kofi Ameya. Kofi, welcome.
Thank you. Sorry for being late. I was caught up in the traffic. You replace ABA.
Yeah. He took the mantle from ABA for Zaidi.
You
no. Now I'm beginning to wonder why do you find that interesting?
ABA has become formidable in the space. So for a young man of that nature, and you are the same person the minority leader was praising the last time.
Yes.
So it's a big feat. I mean, for me, the political landscape or the political ecosystem is not that friendly.
Yeah.
And it's extremely challenging emotionally, financially, and socially. So for a young man to be able to overthrow a man like ABA.
Overthrow, say.
That makes it sound like a coup, eh?
Yes, it's not overthrow.
Like for ABA, it was a coup. So I commend you.
Right.
And I know very soon, in 2028, that seat will fall. Definitely, inshallah.
You've started the morning too early.
No, I haven't started too early. Inshallah, it will fall. But I wish you well.
All right.
I wish you all the best.
Are you sure it will fall, especially considering how or what we are hearing from your party currently? It looks like the unity agenda for some people, we are not seeing the unity, we are not seeing the work towards that.
Well, I don't know if you may be specific, but
specifically towards the thank you tour and the fallout from there. Dr. Bawumia making comments, Palgrave writing about it, Nana Kumia responding to Palgrave. It looks a bit messy for those of us on the outside.
Let me say a very good morning to you, your good self and honorable, and then your cherished viewers as well.
Right.
It's been a while since I came here.
Exactly.
First of all, I think the thank you tour is in order.
Okay.
It's appropriate that after the elections, the party and then the candidates who represented the party will go out there and to thank the rank and file of the party who supported, campaigned, and were behind him throughout the season. It was a difficult season. In fact, the defeat for me is still taunting.
Right.
And there's a need for us to also recognize that a lot of works went into it. More especially those party folks who left their families, their jobs to come and support the campaign. I was on the D-Day at the Manjo electoral area.
Okay.
And then the women's organizer for that particular polling station, one Madam Vida, if you look at how she was dedicated to the cause of what she was tasked to do, I think it's proper that the party embark on this particular thank you tour with the candidates who more or less represented and was the face of the party. Having said that, I think that it's not just to the party folks, but by extension to all Ghanaians who voted for the MPP. I mean, there were a lot of people who voted for us compared to those who didn't vote for us. Unfortunately, we didn't get the required numbers to make us, to win the power as a president and also majority in parliament.
Yes.
But having said that, there is also the need to also recognize their effort for even coming out in the midst of all the economic challenges. Of course, we are in a political, once we've gone into an election, we were not successful, we need to restructure because the defeat was massive and there's a need for us to do a massive restructuring of the party. When we are united, we are formidable, and there's no way the NDC can match us if we are united. That is why, for me, the concentration should be on unity. Unity and unity. As far as the reminder of the things that happened that, cascaded into our defeat, for me, should be shelved in the meantime.
Isn't that what you would say would be a way to say sorry to the people? Because that now brings the admittance that, yes, this is what happened. And that's what Dr. Bawumia is doing.
Did you vote?
I did.
Did you vote for the MPP?
I can't tell you who I voted for. If
you should ask anybody why they didn't vote for the MPP or they decided not to vote because they were in MPP, their reason will fall into the category as mentioned by the former vice president.
Right.
So everybody that did not vote or voted against the MPP knew why they didn't vote. So already we know why.
But did the party know that these were the concerns of the people?
Of course.
You knew before the elections that this are how people are feeling.
I was the external affairs director of the party.
Yes.
When the new executives were ushered in 2022, 26th August 2022. So I know that we were fully aware of some of the things that were mentioned. I mean, come on, really, if you're a government and you introduce policies that is hard for the people to take, you don't need any scientist, you don't need any survey, any fact-finding committee to come and tell you these policies that you introduced did not help you.
But you kept the policies.
Because we needed those policies at the time. We were faced with economic, not just a sub-regional economic meltdown or downturn. We were faced with a global economic challenge, to the extent that the NDC refuted those challenges, did not accept those challenges locally in Ghana. But when they won power, even before they won power, they will go outside the country and admit that this economy was battered and buffeted and was affected hugely by the COVID pandemic and the Russian-Ukraine war. So we were in a fix, and these policies were supposed to have been implemented to at least kind of mitigate the economic suffering that we were going through at the time. They were unfortunate, and we are so. In fact, to the extent that the finance minister, Dr. Aminanta, at some point had to apologize for the domestic debt exchange program.
The DDP.
So we had already even apologized. And I always remind Ghanaians that when you read the budget statement for 2022, paragraph 4 and paragraph 20, the president admitted, especially in paragraph 4, that Ghanaians are suffering, and he does recognize that. And how to get out of that economic mess is what keeps me awake at night. Okay? And then in paragraph 20, the finance minister, who was speaking on behalf of the president, also admitted that some of the policies that we introduced really did not yield much result. So even before the elections, we had admitted that there were certain things we didn't do right, but they were supposed to have been done today. Some of the policies and the taxes we introduced as a result of the economic challenges that we face, the NDC is still maintaining it. For example, the COVID-19 levy, are they not still collecting it? Is it still not in our books? Still in our books. The domestic debt exchange program, is it still being implemented? When they came, you would have expected. As much as it was bad, you would have expected that when they came, they would have said, okay, everybody come and take your money. But that is not the case. We were in a fix. We were in a situation where we needed to have taken certain policies and measures. Unfortunately, those measures did not find favor with the people. Look, as a government, you will definitely have liabilities and your assets. As a government, we have things that we did right, that favored the people, that helped the people, that cushioned them. Okay? We can talk about the free SHS. We can talk about the program that the finance minister through the president introduced that gave a lot of finance backbone to micro and small businesses. We can talk of a lot of things that the government did, the infrastructure that was done in the country. That is massive. And I don't think even the NDC can be able to match up to what we have been able to do. But in spite of all of these things that we did, there were still things that we did that did not find favor of the people. And definitely, if you look at the history of this country, every government would have faced or had faced one challenge or the other. So for us to also go through those challenges and Ghanaians using those challenges to vote against us, it's fair. Because why? If you go back to when John Dramani Mahama, His Excellency, was the president between 2013 and 2016, there were things that he introduced or he did that did not find favor with the people. For that matter, they voted against him. And it's peculiar with every government.
Okay.
Kufuor's government is there, Atamo's government, JJ's government is there. In fact, the biggest demonstration ever organized in this country was Kumi Preko and Semi Preko. That was at the time when VAT was being introduced. So every government will go through that process. And for me, it is healthy what is happening. At the end of the day, again, like I said, the MPP is stronger and we are formidable when we are united. It doesn't matter who we will bring. If we are not united and we don't come together and bring everybody on board, those who have left should come back, so that at the end of the day, we will have one unity in common, and then go ahead and make sure we win 2028, because 2028 for us to win.
And that's why I'm curious, and I'll bring you in, Atta, shortly, but I want to still find out from you, you talk about the fact that, yes, unity should be the way forward. And I'm wondering how you're going to achieve that, especially because you've talked about the external pressures that led to the crisis we saw, the hardships. Dr. Bawumia talked about that. He also talked about internal party mechanisms that did not work right. People were not paid within the party. People felt aggrieved. At a point, he also talked about arrogance of power. So we saw government people or people in government who were not listening at all to the people.
You see, again, you are dealing with human beings, and we all have our social flaws. Some of these things, yes, it's unfortunate, but it will happen. Why? The NDC government just began, but have you not seen some form of arrogance of power already? Well, we had a minister, my own boss, whom I'm well pleased, Felix Ofosu Kwachi, or Kwachi Fosu, calling a member of parliament a clown. Have you not heard that? Don't you pay attention to some of the things that are being said and with the manner in which they are being said? So some of these things are there. But you see, eventually, the Ghanaian would want to see prices of food items coming down. The Ghanaian would want to see that the dollar is stable, so that at the end of the day, when they are trading with other partners outside, their money worth will be kept. So these are some of the things that do matter to the Ghanaian. But of course, these things also do matter. They all go into the basket to determine who becomes the president or which political party wins power and all of that. But I'm saying that the focus should not be why we lost, because we already know why we lost. Restructuring the party is paramount and is extremely sensitive. I have heard the call for an expansion of the electoral college of the party. Extremely important. For me, that should be our focus. Whilst we are preaching unity, we should also be talking about.
But there are party members who feel that, well, even that call in itself is misplaced, because that's the same electoral college that brought in Dr. Bawumia. So why is he even talking about an expansion now?
Well, when you talk about expansion, definitely there will be changes. Because, for example, we have a situation where we only have the executives of the party. You don't have former executives. I mean, that's part of the call for recommendation for the expansion or for restructuring of our constitution. That former executives should be part of the delegates. Others are also talking about one member, one vote, that every member in good standing should be allowed to vote. So these are the discussions that I want to be the highlight of the day,
right?
Not why we lost, because every Ghanaian who went to vote on that day knew why they didn't vote for the MPP.
Kofi, will you admit that the MPP failed Ghanaians?
Well, I wouldn't say we failed, but we were challenged. We didn't fail as a government, but we were seriously challenged. And I believe we did the best as we know how.
Okay.
And unfortunately, Ghanaians were the jurors or were the jury, and they decided that, okay, you know what, step aside, let's bring in a new government and let's see how things unfold. And clearly, it's beginning to be clear that we didn't fail them because of certain things that have been done in these 4 years.
Right. Okay, so the MPP clearly dealing with their own matters there. But for you as the NDC,
yes,
what is this indicative of?
Okay, so let me say, I didn't greet my people earlier, so let me say good morning to our viewers, especially the good people of Sanarugu. As part of our democratic process, time for reflection is always necessary. And I will say that this is not so peculiar to the MPP doing a postmortem of as to why they lost the elections. So it's a call in the right direction. However, it is interesting to note that it is now beginning to make clarity or make sense to everybody that all what we were saying were indeed true. You see, he said they were challenged with so many issues, but they kept on insisting break the 8. Despite all the things that he is now agreeing that these were some of the challenges of our people. And politicians must get this right. You are holding an appellate power. It's people's mandate. President Akufo-Addo was a blot on our conscience.
How so?
And I will take you through some of the aspects of their report.
You have seen the report.
Oh, why?
You have a copy of the report.
Mensah, that argument you said it was one copy, it's not true. It's never true. So for me, MPP in the last 4 years, that is from 2020 to 2024, insulted the conscience of Ghanaians. They made sure that they told us clearly that Ghanaians didn't know what we were about. We didn't have any sense of direction, any sense of purpose. When you do that to somebody who gives you the original power, don't be surprised with the outcome that we saw. And let me tell you, did you really need a study to know why they lost? That's the question I asked myself. In the first place, there was no need. Every creditable institution and research institutions that MPP relied on previously, the Economic Intelligence Units and many other established institutions, predicted this defeat. Not today. If you were following, right from 2022, the Economic Intelligence Unit came to say that President John Dramani Mahama will return. And they gave you reasons as to why they will return. Despite all these things, they even had to call a researcher a Zongo Lotto forecaster because it did not side with them. So when I heard them setting up the committee, I said that, well, it is part of their own party structures and how they want to approach the issue. But sincerely, you don't need to ask a question, why did we lose? You cannot be doing incidence of poverty of 23.4%. 1 out of every 4 Ghanaians was poor. And you still want to win an election.
But they say that it was not their doing.
You see,
we saw economic pressures even from outside, externally, that led to some of the challenges that we saw.
As we speak, there's global supply chain disruptions, but Ghana is surviving. Ghana was not the only country that was affected by COVID-19 in Russia and Ukraine. That excuse, in fact, at the recent IMF spring meeting, they made it categorically clear that Africa's problem was their sustainability. They didn't go to the IMF because they thought we were badly affected by the external sector. They went there to say that they couldn't pay their debt. It means that a debt was contracted and I can't pay. So for me, they didn't need what's his name? Michael Quay's report. In any case, the chairman of that committee participated in the defeat of the MPP in his own constituency where he was the former MP.
How so?
You had your own child,
yes,
contesting a former MP, and you know the Agyapong family in Domi. After the election, he couldn't use the statesmanship to promote reconciliation.
So now you are blaming Professor Michael Quay for the defeat?
For the defeat.
In Dom
because once a fish is watered, it starts from the head. He needed to show leadership. So this report from onset is not expected to be trusted.
But is it not the case that you would have made the point that the NDC did so much work in the constituency to warrant that?
It is also possible. But why look at the presidential? We all know, even before the parliamentary primaries of Michael Quay versus Agyapong, there were already calls within the party for her to be ousted from the party. That she was abroad dancing and all those things. You heard it. So they sowed the seed of discord. So when you see some of these things, you don't need a Michael Quay's report to tell you. Now, look, if you look at the governance and leadership issues, 87% of MPs and party grassroots believe that President Akufo-Addo resisted conscience and counseling. And it comes back to what Dr. Baumia has started saying, that there was so much arrogance of power. The MPP were simply clouded with failed judgments. They easily forgot that the people's mandate, what they are keeping, is every 4 years.
But Kofi says they were aware of the challenges of the people. But they were doing their best to bring the people out of the challenges.
No, even among them. These are party reports who suggested that President Akufo-Addo should have done reshuffle for, and in 8 years, he did only one reshuffle. That's what the party is saying.
Correct me, you know that's not true.
That's what the party is saying.
Did you do only reshuffle?
Oh, Mensah, which one did you do? I'm not talking about one individual. It was one reshuffle we saw. Look,
but you see,
I'm coming.
When the calls came earlier, he gave a reason. He says, well, he has a team. The team is performing. They are doing what they should be doing as per the KPIs given them.
That is why I'm saying that.
And then later,
I'm saying that they didn't use good judgment.
Right.
Because you don't measure the success of your project based on your thinking. You measure it based on the economic circumstance of your people. So if they say President Akufo-Addo didn't take counsel, they are not far from right. Because you saw display of complete lack of respect for our traditional rulers. A president instructing a chief to stand up, when we all know that the custodians of the lands are our chief. They own us in the state. We saw that display of, look, opulence, carrying presidential chair everywhere, displaying that he's the king of all. People's mandate, is that how you treat people's mandates? I will encourage Ghanaians to treat us the same if we behave that way. Politicians must take Ghanaians seriously. Economic mismanagement. You are now admitting. In fact, they never attributed any single of the metrics in terms of economic indicators to themselves. They had always found a problem. First, they said that the NDC spent all the money before they took over. They inherited an IMF economy. Is that not the excuse they gave? Later, they did the banking sector cleanup. An asset quality review assessment was done by the IMF and the Bank of Ghana. And they knew that 9 billion could solve the liquidity challenges of those banks. You came to spend 30.3 billion. We told you that was reckless. You were crippling your own fiscal rigidities. They didn't listen. Now, Dr. Baumia is telling us that e-levy is the problem. Ghanaians voted against them because of e-levy.
Among other factors.
Among other factors.
And then with the e-levy, for instance, he was not in support.
Exactly. There's no iota of reason that showed that he dissented at the cabinet meeting.
But you and I were not there.
If you are telling us that you didn't support, there's what we call collective bargaining. You either join us or stay alone.
But he's a vice president.
So he's a vice president who chairs the economic management team, who recommended it to cabinet for approval. Unless you can show us here that there was any dissent letter or memorandum that was issued to the president concerning e-levy. In fact, a birthday was celebrated in the name of e-levy, and the vice president's wife was there. So, CD, you know what happened to traders, freight forwarders, the exporters association. Everybody was complaining. Do you need a report to tell you this? Look, let me come to internal divisions and factionalism. Look, it happened to all the political parties. This one I must admit. But the approach to resolving it is my key. We also had similar blots like Koko Ayido, Aloche Jacobs and the likes. So for me, this call is in the right direction for them if they indeed want to regain the public trust and then they are party lawyers. Look, don't always assume that you have one vote, same way as the other. What binds you together is the interest. So you cannot think that your vote is weightier than another, because the cascading effect is defeat. So if they are taking steps to bring him back Alan, who had gone to form his own party, because the elections process, he has agreed that there are calls for reforms in their electoral process. The delegate system, if you know the amount of money people sank into the elections, and it's both parties, and any call for expanded electoral college, I'm for it. But sometimes it also comes with its own challenges.
Right.
I remember in 2016, we expanded our electoral college. At the end of the day, we had the worst defeat. I don't know whether you remember.
Yeah.
So yes, there are no best practices for some of those things, especially the type of democracy that we practice. So my advice, though I don't wish you well in the election, but I wish you well as a formidable opposition. My advice will be that at least they must make sure that reconciliation is necessary in every field. Even your family, you can have disagreement. And I'm sure the reason that made some of them sit aloof happened to the NDC in 2016. We saw our founder and most other people open display or disagreements with us as at that time. So it took us a lot of time to reach out, and those that we can bring back. And look, let me be honest with you, they can't bring all of them back again. You do your best to see what will happen at the end of the finally. Corruption, nepotism, you heard all these things. Family and friends. President Akufo-Addo populated the country with his family and friend people. Nobody could penetrate. If you were not for them, you were not considered in any position in government. How can this man, the former MP the former finance committee chairman, OCB Yeboah, a fine brain who was the spokesperson on finance, in their opposition days, they came to government, set up somebody who they sent to free zones, later brought to trade to go and kick him out. Some of these things cause your defeat. So, Galamsey, we said they won't listen. So, like I said, it's their party matter. I'm just worried that they thank you to have a problem with it. And the reason is simple.
Briefly.
Unlike the NDC constitution, the MPP constitution is different. The MPP, once an election is over and reorganization process hasn't started, the leadership of the party changes. Like when they were in government and Dr. Bawumia was the flag bearer, it stands to reason that he will be the leader of the party. The leader of the party.
Right.
Now the party is in opposition and no reorganization process has started. Even at their polling station level, nothing has happened. They are still in the healing process. The flag bearer is no longer the leader of the party. And the leader of the party should be what? The national chairman. The national chairman, for them to endanger the party trust again, should be somebody who is well emboldened. It should be somebody who is more reconciliatory. But this approach of going around with the flag bearer sends a signal that this is the establishment candidate, and that is part of the reason why you lost. If you remember, President Mahama's thank you to General Mosquito and the former, they didn't participate because there were other people who were interested in the position. Now, if you are carrying one person in your healing agenda, you are communicating same to the people that this is the person you want to come back again with. Dr. Bawumia can do his own thank you tour without using the party structure.
Right.
Kennedy Agyapong, Brian Agyapong, and others who have openly showed interest in becoming leaders of their party should see the national executive to be impartial. Should be people that they can approach with their concerns. One of the concerns they had was that the establishment supported a candidate against the wish of the people. And for the first time, if you look at Dr. Bawumia's vote in the primaries, it will tell you that almost half of the party executive didn't support that. But they were hoodwinked and they were pressured to supporting that. So for me, I wish them all the best in the healing process.
So Kofi, yes, I know you have some responses to give to that.
You see, whilst you was talking, I picked some few things from. It's something that President Akufo-Addo had done, and they have said that it was a blot on our conscience, so they will do away with it. They come, they don't do away with it, they want to amend it. Okay? That's number one. Number two, they come and tell us that, double tracking system of our schools are not good. It's a blot on our conscience. Our school children are getting pregnant. You abolish it first 90 days. Now we are being told it will be abolished in 2027. What are you talking about? So for me, the very things that we did, as far as we were concerned, to be able to more or less contain the economic challenges that we went through, that's the very same thing that they are doing. In fact, even in the midst of all the challenges and the things that we did that were a blot on the conscience of Ghanaians, our economic growth is better than your projected economic growth. 5.7 is better than your 4.4, even now reduced to 4.0 by World Bank. So in spite of everything, we did better in terms of the economic management than you did. Then my last point, because I don't want to go so much into this thank you tour and what our party is doing. Okay, we've lost the elections, so everybody would say what caused the defeat, and they have the right to do that. But I am saying that what the MPP needs now, from my experience, having crisscrossed this country with the national chairman when he wanted Stephen in team, I know why we lost the elections. We had thought that by the time we get to the elections, things would have changed. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. So we know what caused us the defeat. And what we need now is unity in purpose.
Right.
We must have a common interest, a common agenda, a common goal, and that is power. That is why I support the call by Honorable Kennedy Ohene Agyapong that the party must give room to everybody and anybody.
So the cause for general amnesty for you is in the right direction, because I spoke to Patrick Yabuama 3 weeks ago, and he mentioned that he wants to see that as number one in the operation for the recommendation.
Like I said, I have been out there campaigning before, and I know how people were angry. I'm asking that, have you seen a black man blushing before? I saw one in Santasi, Kumasi. So as for the reconciliation, it's something that is needed, it's something that is necessary. And unity is what we need. Once we are able to do these two things, and restructure and expand our electoral college, trust me, the MPP will come back, regardless of who we bring as our candidate.
Let me also one and a half. Yes. So yes, like I said earlier, healing process is always necessary in life, and I don't begrudge them on that. But like the call from Ken saying that the party must be all embracing is not what we are seeing on this thank you tour. I've already stated my opinion that national executive, if they are truly in for reconciliation, should not be following it.
So you think people are taking the thank you tour to also
it's a political
put their faces?
And you know what they are also doing?
But wait. It's coming from my part. Let me correct that. I didn't want to go so much into it. It is the party that is organizing the
thank you tour, not Dr. Baumia.
No. The party has extended invitations to anybody that aspires to lead the party in future to be part of it.
It's not true.
That's true. That is why.
Not true.
I am from.
So I'll come to you. We saw exactly what you have contrary to what he said.
That is why Honorable Kennedy Agyapong, who has expressed interest to contest to lead the party in 2028, is part of the thank you tour. And I watched a video yesterday in Western region where he said that when he heard that this is the agenda, he supported the call to join the vice president, who was the candidate, who was the face of the party at that in 2024, to also go on the thank you tour. So please, it is the activity of the party, which is of course because Dr. Baumia was the candidate, kind of leading it, and then all other aspirants are also invited to be part of the thank you.
It's not true.
It's true.
So what evidence do you have to the contrary?
He doesn't have anything. He says it's not true. Let's end the discussion.
Why?
I've told you.
Why it was good to discuss the NDC in 2016. 2017. And so let's discuss your party.
The position of my party.
Yeah. Where is the position? Because we also saw.
It is the party that is organizing the thank you tour.
I'm coming.
Extended invitations to everybody, including the former vice president.
There is no such invitation.
That's true.
You see, let's not do this to ourselves.
Really?
Let's not do this to
ourselves. So, Issa, that's what I'm asking.
My point.
So what do you have contrary to that?
My contra fact is that
his opinion.
First of all, there is nothing called candidate for the next election. No, wait. You can't.
So he says people who are aspiring.
Nobody at this stage can be called an aspirant.
But I didn't say an aspirant.
Some people who are given.
You are saying they've extended invitation. Let's get this right. Don't play with all of these things.
Okay.
On what capacity will they extend it to somebody who intends to contest? That will not be legal.
But he says
my point,
everybody.
No.
And then those who want to.
I watched the inauguration of the thank you tour at their headquarters.
Okay.
It was solely to market Baumia.
That's not true.
That's the indication you get.
That is what he even said. No. That after an election, he need to come and thank Ghanaians.
But he was the front runner for that election.
So my point is that Dr. Baumia could have approached the thank you tour like President Mahama did.
In his own capacity.
In his own capacity.
Not when the party
so that the party will just do a national Thanksgiving and go to either a mosque or a church.
You cannot tell the party how they should run
I'm saying that if you indeed want to do an encompassing everybody into an envelope to fight for unity, that is what the goal of this thank you tour. As he said that apart from thanking Ghanaians, it is also an opportunity to forge unity. Is that not what he said?
That's true.
So if you want to do that, people must be satisfied that the processes leading to this thank you tour is well embraced. That's what I'm just saying.
Okay.
Now coming to interjector, I have 2 points.
Briefly, because we need to go for a break. When we come back, we'll also talk more. So briefly,
we talked about COVID levy. You see, we have always maintained that we are doing a complete VAT regime amendment. Wait,
but that's not what you
promised. Have you seen the budget? Have you seen?
No, that's not what you promised.
I'm coming.
Honorable, forget about what is in the budget.
So can I
be minded of what you promised us?
Did we?
And so for you, the NDC must stick to exactly what he said.
No, what did we say?
What did we say you do in the first 90 days? Tell us what you said.
We never mentioned anywhere on COVID levy. Never. If you have this evidence, I'll walk out of this studio.
It was the e-levy.
So what I said.
But you indicated that it was
budget
in 2026, so it will be scrapped.
Oh, can you let me? I beg you. Look. COVID levy.
Yes.
Anybody having the budget should go to the appendix on government projected revenue. COVID levy for 2026 is 0. COVID levy will not be paid in 2026 on what's going because we are. Oh, I just said 2026. Finally, on the repeal of the LI 2462.
Yes.
Look, you should be ashamed to even bring that discussion here. When this bill was promoted, the LI was promoted. It was you people defending it everywhere in 2022. Against calls by TUC and many other stakeholders. You didn't listen to anybody. It's part of the arrogance. President Mahama, I'm telling you this information, this is free information. Before we return to Parliament on the 1st May, the LI will be lead to repeal this one. We are repealing it.
So finally,
we are repealing this
when
LI.
you came to Parliament in this Parliament, what did you do?
I've just provided.
We are not going to see the
information.
It's not about the information you provided.
Finally, on GDP growth. No, indication. This is the point of indication. You cannot you cannot compare an outturn to a projection. The growth of 5.7% is an outturn for 2024.
Right.
The growth of 4.4% is a projection.
Okay.
And let me give you the trajectory.
Very briefly.
It will even be up to a minute.
Right. So that we can go for a break.
MPP projected in 2024 beginning through their budget to grow at 2.8%. Half year, mid-year, because of the growth in first and second quarter, MPP revised its projection from 2.8% to 3.9%. You did 5.7%. So you don't use projection.
You left for.
No, I'm just indicating here. And then 5.7 growth. We must know this. It is not as a result of competence. One is as a result of the fiscal strain that we were cushioned against through the debt restructuring program of $4 billion.
Which we are still enjoying.
And then mining and quarry of 19%.
Right.
What participation interest do we have in mining industry? 5% royalties. Is that what drives your growth? And that was why we were telling them that unemployment cannot be 14.7%, yet you are claiming growth. That is a jobless growth.
Okay.
That's not the type of growth.
Well, so that's Atta Issa, he's the member of Parliament for Stanley, and then Kofi Ameyao, he's with the NPP's communications team. This is GH Today here on GHOne Television. We'll go for a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue the conversations. GHOne OV van has been one of the best vans I've used personally in this country. It runs a system where we are able to run on done to be able to do our broadcast mixed well also from this van.
I've used this OB van for quite a number of big productions, i.e. 3 music awards, the late President Rollis' state funeral, Miss Africa awards, and a number of them.
My experience with the GHOne van has been the state of the art equipment they have. Personal experience is you can use it for both indoor and outdoor, all events, conferencing, like anything you need a van to work for you, GHOne provides it.
My experience with the van has been very good. Why? Because it has a number of facilities that I may not get in other vans. You know, the van has a very wide bench that can accommodate all my technical crew, ICCU, switcher, graphics, CG, and all of that. And then it also has a studio, a green room studio that comes with TriCaster. So if you want somebody to do commentary on a live event, you can put that presenter who's in that studio as well and get that running.
To give an experience to our audience who are also watching on TVs and online, work with an Exo technology system which makes your video mixing with Panasonic cameras, like a lot of other stuff in terms of content you need to get also for your live broadcasts.
I prefer the GHOne van to a lot of other vans I've used, or even doing my own setup on a tabletop setup, because on a production you see a number of people in the van, and so if you have a very small van, it means that it's going to be choked, and that will affect the creativity as well. The price has been discounted as well to accommodate varied budgets, and so no matter the budget you have, I understand you can have the truck and do business with it.
It looks huge but very affordable. Cost is really affordable. My experience with this EMI awards last year, super excellent. Try it, call them, and I'm going to give you the best of price. Really affordable.
All right, so this is still GH Today here on GHOne Television. It's the newspaper review segment, and my guest here is Atta, who is member of parliament for Sanergu, and Kofi Ameya, who is a member of the MPP's communications team. So Kofi, before we went to the break, you had some sharp rebuttals, and then we just go into the...
I don't want to extend this conversation as much as it
Thank
has.
you. Okay. Thank you.
But at the end of the day, I am saying that Ghanaians will realize how good we were in the space of a year. Okay.
Oh, so you think in 1 year the NDC government would perform so badly like Ghanaians would miss
they started performing badly.
Right.
Galamsey, they can't fight it.
They can't?
They are dilly-dallying around it.
They've suspended licenses of people who they believe
supply
are
of power. When I was coming, I was listening to radio, and if you listen to the external communications manager of ECG and what the things that he's saying, I mean, really. So for me, again, the MPP must be united.
Right.
We must come together, forgive ourselves, and when we do that, we will come back to power. Definitely.
I don't like how Issa is looking at me, but Issa, we are done with this.
Only to say that the Galamsey issue he talked about,
yes.
one of the, you can't get your co-equal. You are just trying to equate here. Immediately after December 7th election, they had a month. They issued 417 licenses in 1 month.
You see, they keep saying these things, forgetting how we decentralize the system.
I'm just telling you, the whole concept of degradation of our water bodies started with you.
Ghanaians are what you know.
No.
Honorable, don't do this. You started so well.
There was no regime in Ghana that supported forest mining. The only time it was promulgated into an ally was in 2022. My point is that this Galamsey fight is a new insurgency that is coming towards all of us. I will never do politics with it, and I have never, even under NDC, because look, these are weaponized bandits, well equipped to defend their survival. And so for me, dealing with this issue, I also have to blame successive governments, because if you look at the licensing regime and the retention policy of our policies, if I have a gold depot in my community, then a foreigner comes to mine that gold, and then the community still have issues with water. They have issues with hospitals.
You are in power. What you are saying?
No, I'm just supporting what the current government is doing on the licensing regime.
You are not, instead of the minister crying, solving the problem by crying.
My point is that we have reclaimed.
You are in government. Fix
we
it.
have reclaimed 7 out of the 9 forests. And then recently, you saw the hideout that we went to destroy. That house over 10,000 of people. We cleared it. And even now, the water gas program, we are doing restoration of the water.
So then this is fighting Galamsey, right? Okay. So let's talk about May 5, because your party, the NPP, and other parties, you are hitting the capital with a demonstration against the decision of President Mahama that he says is in consultation with the Council of State and in line with law to suspend the CJ?
First of all, for me, I believe that there's a clear agenda towards Article 66 of our Constitution.
Okay.
And Her Lordship, the Chief Justice, is just a victim of circumstances. I don't think she was personally targeted. As a matter of fact, the NDC, the president, when he was a candidate, made it clear that he's interested in reformation of our judiciary. Okay? And we believe that it's geared towards some form of altercation of Article 66 that talks about the term of a president, whether 8 years straight or 4 years and a break and all of that. Because when you look at the merits of the petition, the preponderance of the petition, the weight of it, is so light, it's so frivolous, that even if you are a grade 1 civil servant, okay, you wouldn't make these allegations or you make that petition that should warrant the removal of the Chief Justice of the land. Because number one,
right,
if Daniel Ofori opines and petitions that the Chief Justice traveled outside the country with her husband and the child, and that it was unconstitutional, and it amounts to stated misbehavior and misconduct. Really, when the judicial travel policy states clearly in there that she can do that, then for me, even on the basis of just this one, should tell you that the petition is frivolous. It's just an attempt to just get rid of the woman, to just empanel the judiciary, the Supreme Court with the NDC judges, and then, of course, we are going towards the interpretation of Article 66 and see that otherwise, what kind of petition is this?
So you think this is the end game is bigger?
Madame Gertrude Tokono is just a victim of circumstance. It didn't matter who would have become, because at the time, even when President Mahama, then a candidate, met with the NDC lawyers, it wasn't when he promised that there should be a reform and that the NDC lawyers should come and then there should be judges and all of that. Then Madam wasn't the Chief Justice. It was Enim Yabuboa or something. Yeah. So she wasn't the target. The target again is the interpretation of Article 66. And for me, that is dangerous. An arm of government, the head of an arm of government, targeted this way with this frivolous petition is dangerous to our democracy.
Right.
Look, okay, wait. I want a sustainability of our democracy. I want us to continue to maintain and better our democracy. Genuinely and sincerely, I want President Mahama to succeed, because the failure of President Mahama will cascade into a collapse of our political system and our democracy, because gradually people are losing interest in our democracy and they are finding interest in other forms and system of governance, okay, especially around us. So if President Mahama should fail us this time around again, we are in trouble. We are in danger. That is why it's extremely important that he pay heed to the cause by the Ghana Bar Association and then the political parties that have come together to embark on a demonstration to remind him. In fact, Article 46 of the Constitution, a portion of it, gives him the opportunity to revoke even a suspension of the Chief Justice. Okay, even though, a petition is filed and all of that. And we want him to do that first and foremost, because when you look at the weight of the petition, frankly,
but if the petition is as frivolous as you say, that wouldn't that be established by the committee that has been set up?
That is why we believe that there's a clear agenda. So it doesn't matter how light the petition is. Definitely, once there has been a petition, and that's a serious precedent and a danger to our democracy, because if tomorrow, for example, there's a new Chief Justice or there's a Chief Justice and there's a new government, and somebody doesn't like the Chief Justice, they can just petition anything at all. And then because there has been a petition, and then of course there's a provision in our constitution for same, then the president should go ahead, suspend her, and probably go ahead again to revoke or remove her. For me, that would be dangerous. I am appealing to the conscience of the committee that has been formed, that they should really and indeed go beyond the recommendation of the Council of Elders of State,
Council of State,
and look at the merits of the petition, really and truly the merit of the petition, and found that petition to be frivolous, capricious.
I wouldn't have seen it. So I'm particularly happy because it means that we are growing in our democracy. Just to say that the intended demonstration in this demonstration has nothing to do with the constitutional process that is going on. It's one way to energize your base.
You think they're just trying to energize their base, even though it's not just the MPP?
Look,
we have some other political parties joining.
I know.
Wait, because when they were in
wait. You see, it's just to energize their base.
Okay.
Let me begin with this. That President Mahama made a statement on judicial reforms. Look, in fact, the Afrobarometer report, 4 consecutive years, had the judiciary as the 3rd worst performing state institutions and arm of government in terms of performance, corruption, and miscarriage of justice. That is the Afrobarometer report, not President Mahama. You, Global Info Analytics, and many other statute institutions like ISKINE have always maintained the Ghana police and the judiciary are among one of the most corrupt arms or institutions. So is this new for us to reform our judiciary? And my brother talked about the idea of NDC doing this. Has it violated any provisions of the Constitution? That is what I wanted to hear from him. Has President Mahama violated any provisions of the law? Article 146 talks about how president should act in case of a Supreme Court judge and in case of what? A Chief Justice. If it was in the case of a Supreme Court judge, President Mahama would have forwarded the thing to the Chief Justice to determine the prima facie. Is that not it? At that time, who measures her fiduciary duty to be candid and fair? Who does that checks?
But she also will form a committee.
No, the determination of a prima facie against a judge in a Supreme Court doesn't form a committee. She only determines it and now give it to the committee, not to determine prima facie, but to investigate. So who watches the watchman?
But I have a question, please. I have
okay.
So when we talk of the judicial reformation or reforms, should it be the concern of the executive?
Of course.
Why should that be?
Look, it determines even your foreign direct investment.
No,
when people are not confident of your regulatory regime.
So the executive, not the judiciary, should reform itself.
We should be interested.
You should be interested, but who should reform it?
So when I finish my point,
an arm of government interested in the reformation of another arm of government.
Wait.
Can the executive come to the parliament and say we are going to reform the legislature?
They have always.
No,
they have always. The judiciary have always interfered when they think that the legislature is abusing power.
That's when they are consulted. That's what the Constitution says. Right. It's a provision of the Constitution.
Can you let me? I'm sorry. You see, first of all,
make your point.
No, first of all, we haven't even seen even one error in what President Mahama has done. I said one. If it was in regards to a judge in the Supreme Court, the Chief Justice would have discharged the determination of the prima facie without anybody checking and refer to a committee. Is that not it? Now, if it comes to the Chief Justice herself, the Constitution says the president must do it in consultation
with the Council
of State. Look, in this instance, the word is not on the advice. It is what? In consultation. In fact, if you look at that in the GHOne case versus Attorney General, he stated that when they say in conjunction, it simply means that the Council of State should take prominent role. And 2 days ago, I heard Uncle Sam Okudjeto stating that in the previous case, that before the election, somebody had petitioned the former president, President Akufo-Addo, on this same issue.
True.
And then President Akufo-Addo also ferried same to the Council of State. Uncle Sam said they determined the prima facie and they realized it had no merit.
Yes.
So President Mahama has only followed the same suit. In any case, you are making these arguments so basic and simple. There are 5 petitions, my brother.
3 before the suspension.
Exactly.
2 after.
So don't just take one, not even the entire petition of that one. You are just taking 1 point. You don't do that.
But there are several points that are more even.
Wait. So has it been transparent? That's what we should be asking. In good governance practices, you should be interested in transparency. Has President Mahama violated any rule of procedure? No.
But they said the president also has the ability to revoke the suspension. That's what they are calling on him to do now.
We won't.
Why not?
Because the law must work. Please, look, you journalists, assistants here, don't always expect that sense of reasoning and justice should work when NDC is in government. These people, prior to the 2016 election, promised Ghanaians that they will remove Madam Charlotte Osei, a constitutionally created body with a fixed tenure of office. Did you know this?
Who said that?
Kennedy Agyapong. In fact, brought pictures of her in a poster designed in the name of NDC, having said that she has been our parliamentary candidate before. Were you not in this country? Is a electoral commissioner, not a statute creation.
Her to
they don't have a fixed term of office.
You are talking about an arm of government.
So you see, what is good for the goose is equally good for
an arm of government.
It doesn't matter. We are talking about an independent constitutional body.
President Mahama also.
Oh, can you? I beg you.
Wait. The strikes boss.
Wait. I'm telling you that when the matter on Charlotte Osei came, we told President Akufo-Addo not to set that precedent. It was because of day like this. President Akufo-Addo bastardized every constitutional created institution. He's talking about empaneling NDC judges. Go and look at the current justices of the Supreme Court. President Mahama has only 2 appointees on it. President Akufo-Addo has 12. Who is talking about empaneling? Are you saying that all these 12 judges President Akufo-Addo brought are MPP? Is that what you are telling us?
But I have made the point clear, respectfully, that it doesn't matter. And I stated the case of the US.
So don't say that the idea behind this is to make sure that we empanel NDC
but
judges.
That's what President Mahama said, not me.
So the context is that President Mahama says he was going to balance the judiciary.
Exactly.
Why would you even say that?
No, it is important.
Why is it
important? Because we see the attitude the current justices take when it comes to certain issues and who is against. We've seen it.
Along partisan lines?
Along partisan lines. In fact,
but the
Justice Atuguba wrote a research paper. I don't know whether you had followed it then. And talk about the discharge of duties on political lines. They couldn't even hold him before the Judicial Council. These are issues that is practiced everywhere in the world. We know that some judges have political leanings, and you cannot
based on who appoints them.
You can take the politics out of him. You can take the politics from him, but you cannot take it out from him.
Isn't that to say that if President Mahama also appoints justices, they would be also leaning towards the
that
NDC?
Is a red herring. We are looking at established procedure. Look, there is a current Supreme Court judge who has been your parliamentary candidate before. Do you know that? In Volta region.
Justice Atuguba was a parliamentary candidate.
So that's what I'm saying, that what you are now inviting all Ghanaians to is red herrings. What is likely to happen? The people that have been used to form this committee has Justice Sophia Akufo, isn't it? Are you doubting her competence and credibility? Article 146 doesn't require evidence to be given to the president. He said, bring a case of stated misbehavior and incompetence. Is that not it? The man has fairly same to the Council of State. The Council of State of eminence repute, the members are of eminence repute, have sat on the matter and decided that they have established a prima facie in that. And they have what? President Mahama has subsequently set up the committee.
Yes.
So look at the process. And in each of the members that they have selected to be part of the panel are people who are established and accomplished in life in Ghana. They are people that are authority. Unless, of course, you are casting insinuations at their integrity.
That's why he says he's appealing.
So if you are appealing
to them,
that is the point MPP should be doing, and not criticizing the president. When you were removing Madam Charlotte Osei, we told you, look, my own brother, my senior brother, Dr. Nashiru Isahaku.
Yes.
I have been saying it everywhere I see that I was working at Bank of Ghana and you people came to sack us and said we should wait until you form your government. We waited for 8 years. Dr. Isahaku Nashiru was appointed governor in 2016 for a term of 4. What happened? President Akufo-Addo openly said he cannot work with him. A governor of Bank of Ghana, it is stated in the constitution, the act that established the Bank of Ghana, that a governor with the deputies have a fixed term of what? 4. So when you were doing all these things, did you know the future implications?
Okay.
So for me, I wish the Chief Justice well.
Right.
I just pray there's that level of transparency.
Okay. So that at least we can
everybody
all know
should be
that the investigations were done.
You see, since I've started speaking on it, I haven't dealt into any of the content of their petition.
Right.
I'm not
It's
interested.
the process.
It's the process.
Okay.
We should make sure that President Mahama should make sure that Ghanaians are carried along. We must make sure that this institution remains viable and strong after these reforms.
Okay.
If it is the decision of the committee recommended to the president for her to be removed as CJ, we must try to build confidence.
Okay.
And if it is the case that the petitions are frivolous, the committee must also be bold to say so, so that Ghanaians will be certain as to the power of the country.
You see, when in 2024 during the election, there were 2 words that were very prominent: reset and upgrade. And Ghanaians chose reset. And we were made to understand per the definition of the NDC, the things that the MPP did, they wouldn't do same. Okay? To the extent that they use words like a blot on our conscience and all that. But the same people, Honorable Isahi, continuously reminds us of the thing that had happened in the past, and they are repeating it. So what is the need for the resetting that you were talking about? So Akufo-Addo took off Charlotte Osei, so you've come, you take off Gertrude Tofu.
Is it not a constitutional created
No. So why you talk about resetting? So what's the resetting all about? Oh, you did this.
Has President Mahama removed
when you were here?
Has President Mahama removed
wait.
Has President Mahama removed
when you were working here, they removed me. Why? You've done worse. Is that what Ghanaians asked for?
No, the one we did.
Honorable, when you were talking about
the one we did.
It's
post-elections. Those who were appointed post-elections.
Don't do that.
But I was appointed in July 20.
But there were people who were appointed even proud.
There is nobody like that.
Don't worry about it. But you see, that's why I told you. Listen, bro. That's why I told you earlier that even these 4 years, have given us enough evidence that MPP is coming back in 2028 because the very things that Ghanaians voted against us are the very things that even in just 4 months and 5 months. And in any event, look, the President Akufo-Addo at no point in time mentioned the fact that the electoral commissioners need reformation, or we need reformation at the electoral commission. At no point in time.
Several times.
He did it.
Several times.
Wait.
The day he filed in 2016, the day, even in the presence of Madam Charlotte Osei, raised doubts on the woman's credibility.
Please let me.
So it was doubts that were raised, and not necessarily because the indication had been given.
President Mahama also has raised doubts.
I'm the one on the floor.
I'm the one on them. Unanimous.
But let Kofi make his point, though.
Do you get my point? So the problem and the challenge here is that, nobody is contesting about the legality and the processes, whether they are due or undue. No. But we are talking about the intent. Prior to you becoming the president, you had called the Supreme Court judges unanimous FC when cases are not in your favor. But in the same Supreme Court, with the same judges, you've won cases. To the extent that even you've won appeals. Really? So if we tell you that they have an agenda towards Article 66, you see, you never spoke about Article 66.
Right.
Because that's the clear agenda. And it has nothing absolutely to do with her ladyship, the Chief Justice.
So you are saying that regardless of who is Chief Justice, same thing would have happened because there's an agenda.
Even if it was Atuguba, they would have removed him. Do you get my point? So look, let's take a chill pill. Let's relax and realize what we are doing. This thing about you did it and we have come, we are doing it, so keep quiet, you don't have the right to talk about it. Please, that was not why Ghanaians voted for you. That overwhelming mandate, that massive victory they gave you was not to repeat the things that were done in the past. It's expected. That is why I have told you that I am expecting and I'm hoping and I pray for the success of President John Dramani Mahama. If he should fail, we are in trouble. And from the way he's going, I'm scared. I'm truly scared because the thing that they have done so far.
I'm giving you. Come on, I've been very magnanimous with time with you.
I know when you're in power, I'll give you time. I know how you feel. Don't worry, you'll be fine.
I'll be fine.
You'll be fine. Okay. So for me, look, Ghanaians, let's pay attention to some of these things. You know, they started early because they have the goodwill of the people. Some of these things, Ghanaians will not really pay attention because it's early days yet, and Ghanaians are still, the majority of those who voted for them are still enjoying the fact that they voted for the NDC. So they won't pay attention to it. But it's a serious precedent that should not be set. And that is why I said I'm appealing to the committee that has been formed, and I'm hoping and praying that looking at the merit of the case, they will find these petition frivolous, and then we make progress and we learn something out of it.
I'm very curious. He's asking, he's saying that from the way things are going, it looks like there's an agenda. Is there an agenda?
There's nothing.
With regards to Article 66?
Look, Kweku Azar was the same person that petitioned President Akufo-Addo.
And was thrown away.
And this time, he's part of the people that has forwarded the same petition. So my point is that, where is the agenda? Prior to the election, he had already indicated the intention.
But the agenda started with him.
You see why I was saying that. You see, look, I've already given you the foundation that however the outcome of this investigation comes out, there must be a reform because Ghanaians have lost trust. There are trust deficit in the judiciary.
It's not the duty of the executive to do that reformation. It's the duty of the Judiciary Council to do that.
You don't get my point.
You should not interfere in the other arms of government as simpliciter. Let's make progress.
You get my point. I'm saying that no matter how the outcome of the case is, it must lead. I didn't say the executive must.
Okay.
It must lead to a reform. No, that's what I said.
But first, you said the executive should be interested in the reform.
You see how he is. And then number two.
Right, is that?
So far, I'm comforted with the fact that nobody has raised any constitutional breach in the entire process against President Mahama. Number three, I'm also stating emphatically that the NPP should not set standards for good governance only when the NDC is in power. You must also live like a citizen's government.
Okay.
When these people are in office, they display so much control. They make sure that they silence every conscience and every voice.
That's not true.
Now you are hearing the GBA talk. You are hearing other civil society groups talk. Where were those people in the NPP administration? They took the independence of every institution. Look at the Electoral Commission. They paraded party faithfuls. When I was still president in University of Ghana, Dr. Bosma Asare pointed, he made a very useless statement, I must say, that the NDC is an endangered species to the Ghana's democracy.
He didn't say that.
That we are a threat to Ghana's democracy. How can such a person lead an independent constitutional body?
Right.
So for me, after the Supreme Court's resetting, if it is found to be true, she must be dealt. The next institution that we must look at to prioritize, because it is one institution that can plunge this country into chaos, is the Electoral Commission.
Right.
So for me, any effort that is intended to restore good governance, I'm all for it. That's what I'm saying.
Well, let's spend some time talking now. We have some few minutes to wrap up the show. Tamale Teaching Hospital, we saw the minister there, we saw what happened afterwards, but now the doctors have resumed full services. That should be some good news, Kofi.
Definitely so, because, of course, some of my friends will say precisely so. Because what happened at the teaching hospital was an eyesore. It shouldn't have happened. I think that is why the president has said that his ministers must perform rather than showing presence. I think that, again, and I repeat same, not to sound like a broken record, that this government must succeed. And if this government will succeed, it will depend on the ministers. For ministers to be crying when they are supposed to be doing their job and their duties is not something that we are looking for. For ministers to be engaged in almost fistcuff with CEOs of hospitals and doctors is not the best. For ministers to be insulting members of parliament is not the best. For ministers to be on social media while their serious job to be done and just being on social media is what really intrigues them shouldn't be the order of the day. You must see performance. And I believe that what they have done is good.
Right.
Because after the aftermath of what happened, the minister's tone was changed. He was more sober and he was more reconciliatory. That's what we expect. And I would hope that something of this nature shouldn't happen again. Look, when Issa talks, it appears and it feels as though there's a vendetta. You came to power to avenge something. And sometimes some of the ministers really appear so, like we want to avenge something. You were this, we were that. We want to show you, no, you can't have the country. You took the country, now we are in charge. No. Ghanaians voted for you because they had two choices to make.
Right.
And they chose you for a very good reason. And they expect you to perform, not to just be on a pathway of vendetta and vengeance. Okay? So for me, again, I believe that the call by the president is a good call. And that should reflect in all sectors, in all his ministers, and every appointee that he has chosen.
Right.
So that what happened in Tamale shouldn't happen. We have an opportunity. I recently ended my services with the United Nations as their head of information. So I understand diplomacy. I understand that not everything that needs to be done or said in public. Sometimes you need to go behind the scenes. And I believe that what happened in Tamale should have been behind the scenes. Okay? I don't think there's anything to gain when ministers are all of a sudden, appear in an institution to identify some fault and bring cameras along, and I don't think that's the best way to go. Okay, we shouldn't be micromanaging these situations. We should allow institutions to work, and we should also be more reconciliatory and understand that the Ghanaian gave you the mandate not to lord over them, not to revenge over things that had happened whilst you were in opposition and all of that. I think when we are able to understand some of these things, Ghana will be a better place for all of us.
Very well, thank you. Let's talk to Issa.
So
your bite on that.
This one is a nostalgic feeling for me, precisely because I hail from that place.
Yes.
And I joined the cause from my brother, though excluding the political twist to his comments. And apart from that, it's in the right direction. And those of us from Tamale, because my constituency is very close to the teaching hospital, we know the type of poor performance of service that we see. The death toll, people who die in the Tamale Teaching Hospital in a day, my brother, you'll be shocked. In fact, during the Ramadan, we buried 63 people in a week. Sometimes due to negligence, inadequate staffing, or sometimes poor service delivery equipments. results into such incidences and sometimes professional neglect. And the key driver to this is sometimes the neglect. Sometimes we have raised these concerns. Even the YANA has, in one and many other occasions, has intervened to caution them to practice professionalism in the discharge of their duties. So for me, what the minister did, however maybe unfortunate it looks, is also in a way to ensure that public servants are held to account. The accountability threshold should not be measured only against the politician. You are entrusted to save lives, so you must at all time try as much as possible to save lives.
Right.
So for me, it rather also calls for more reforms at the teaching hospital, because if you look from 2016, in the last 8 years, there hasn't been any other addition or improvement in any of the installations and facilities at the hospital. So it means that sometimes the capacity issues, people are now it's overstretched. So if you have your ward or your father or your mother, you need to take your parents to a private hospital. If not, if you take her to the teaching hospital, sometimes the health care they receive is very poor. So we need to equip them, do the phase 3 of the teaching hospital, and also increase the staffing there, and also maintain higher standards for nurses and doctors. Because that is for me, that is critical. The same way an accountant can be sacked for forgery and other manipulations of creative accounting, the same way teachers can be dismissed for poor performance, nurses must also have the higher standards, such that when medical negligence results in the death of something, in advanced jurisdiction, you have been there, people are jailed for negligence
Of course.
at the hospital. So we must also have that institutional culture that you are there to work to save lives and not to mess up. And finally, let me say, the teaching hospital I'm told they now have a new chief executive.
Yes, there's a new CEO, Dr. Abdullahi.
Yes. So the lesson I would just tell him is that he must do more open engagements with stakeholders. Sometimes a doctor cannot treat you without knowing what is wrong with you. So as a hospital, if you have genuine challenges, you must be able to, even if you are not able to get the sector minister. We have 4 MPs in Tamale. You can pay a courtesy call on the 4 MPs who you think may have a higher voice to the ministry, so we can take the issue. But we are not involved in any difficulties that the hospital face. So when something like this comes, it is also new to me, like it is new to you. So that's what I would just say, that he must engage and do open more engagements with all relevant stakeholders to make sure that we put it back to befitting levels.
Okay, but it's good news that we have the doctors. Finally,
in about 30 seconds. You see, I agree. In fact, the civil service or the public service is the engine of the government. They are the machinery of the government. So, of course, they must be held in even a higher standard because they do the operational works. But we are talking about the manner in which it's done.
Okay.
And I'm saying that, yes, we can have a way of, establishing KPIs for them. Maybe a new KPI if you think they are not performing. But the manner in which they are done, Adabraka, you should reduce it a bit. I know you are excited, but please come now.
Well, thank you. So that's Kofi Amayao. He's a member of the MPP's communications team, and then
doing politics every time.
Atta Isa, member of Parliament for Sadergo, also speaking to us here on the Breakfast Review segment of GA Today here on GHOne Television. I am Joshua Kodjo Mensah. I'll be right back after this break. Stick and stay with us.
as
wow,
well.
so it matches beautifully there.
Yeah.
But I hope you're doing well too.
I'm fine, thank you, Josh. And yourself?
I'm doing well. I'm doing great. I'm doing great. But let me come back to the question I've been meaning to ask.
Yes.
Why women in poultry?
Value chain.
Yes.
Why women in poultry value
chain? Yes.
Because it's women who do all the jobs within the poultry value chain, and so we need to be there.
Right.
And if I want to give a little background, we have Ghana National Association of Poultry Farmers. Yes, so the question of why women in poultry value chain. In 2014, the African Union Interbureau of Animal Resources organized a program for the West African sub-region, the ECOWAS region. And then in that process, they realized that mostly it was men who were in the meeting. So they were asking whether women existed at all within the poultry value chain. So they contracted a consultant, one Dr. Kunzuli, to go around the then 10 regions of this country to find out whether women were really there. And indeed, the women were there. We were feeding the birds, they do the watering, they pick the eggs. But when it's time for the leadership and the governance and the meeting, then it's the men. And so they thought that women should be integrated. The women should also understand. The women should have some space within the value chain. And so they organized a workshop, 3-day workshop in Mensah in the 27th April 2017. Women in poultry value chain was born at the end of that workshop. We drafted quickly a draft constitution, which we later review. And it's a fully registered company by the laws of the country, and we have been operating since. So women are the household managers. They have to make sure that there's protein and the carbohydrates or the food is balanced. So that's why women will have to be in the poultry value chain.
Interesting.
And if we leave, you know, it's a male-dominated area when you talk about the production. But when we finish the production, who does the rest of the job? It's the women who are selling the eggs, cleaning the eggs to sell. They are processing, they are cutting, all over. These days we have the men also in the restaurant anyway, but the women must also participate.
Interesting.
Yes.
I like that a lot. Yes. But then let me come to you, Francesca, also on how women over the years have been driving the sector, the poultry sector in its entirety.
Right. Like Victoria rightly said, women have been in the sector a long time, and I think that recently the president's Feed the Future has said it all. For the longest time, you go to most households in Ghana, rural households, they always have some chickens or some guinea fowl.
Yes.
And who are the people who feed them? It's women, or take care of them. And actually, in some parts of the country, women are not. It's not culturally acceptable for women to maybe own cattle and even small ruminants, that goes and sheep. But when it comes to chicken or poultry products, that is like it's considered their domain.
Right.
So that is why you find women there. And for FSRP, we are interested because for obvious reasons, women dominate population 50.7. And when you look at our economy is largely driven by the informal sector.
Sure.
And 92% of, like say, businesses are there, and women dominate there. If you look at the statistics for Africa, I think that next to Uganda, Ghanaian women dominate in MSMEs in Africa. So, and of course, that is a space that, like, I mean, Victoria has said it, women are there. So why not support them? So our project is seeking to ensure gender parity. We are hoping to achieve a target of 40% of women in the value chains that we are operating. And so that is why we are interested in supporting them, because they have formed themselves into a value chain from suppliers of day-old chicks to input dealers, giving vaccines and feed, as aggregators of maize, soya in the feed chain and all those things, and then of course producing as producers and distributors. She said maybe not to the same extent as the men, because of course if you're talking about the largest poultry farmers, it's one name that stands out, it's a man. And then you look at the value chain, the statistics shows that women are just like 38%. So we want to increase that number and economically empower women, because we know that if you economically empower women, you impact the next generation. Women, human capital. And she said it's responsible for nutrition, early nutrition at the household level. It's women. If they are doing poultry, their children will eat well. She said it herself when we were in the studio. She said that she's been a poultry farmer for 35 years. Her children didn't even know how to eat fish, but poultry and eggs is what they knew. So of course, her children, I'm sure that if you are looking at their IQ and everything, they are out there. So you get the next, best human beings to bring about sustainable development.
You mentioned something about support. What support are you lending to them?
So the support from the Food System Resilience Project is an input credit.
Okay.
Yes, it's not cash. So input credit in the form of day chicks, in form of feed and vaccines. There is also an accompanying capacity building on husbandry practices, the biosecurity measures that you need to take on your farm, and they follow up to monitor what we are doing.
Okay.
And then now that we are 8 years.
Oh, 8 years?
Yes.
Oh, since 2017?
Yes, so we are 8
April
years.
2017.
So it is the 8-year celebration that brought us here this morning. And when we were 1 year old, 2, 3, 4, we were distributing eggs. Koshiani Meku. We went to the mental hospitals because the doctors tell us that in that environment the egg is so important. You give it to them and they are calm. We went to orphanages. But this time that the FSRC project has come in, our first batch of chickens are ready. We want to grill some for the public to taste. So this time, you might see some Kushiani Mako anyway.
Right.
But it is grilled chicken. And tomorrow.
You've whet my appetite already.
Yes, tomorrow at the forecourt of the Closac building at the ministries from 11:12 till 5:36, we are grilling Ghana chicken.
And I hear they are healthier.
Yes,
than the ones that are
healthier,
imported.
tastier.
Right.
They are fresh. You know where it's coming from. And it's white, chicken is white meat.
Yes.
It must be white.
Yes.
Sometimes some of the meats are served, they say chicken and you see it's red. It's not correct, So pass by, just taste the chicken, eat some and buy some.
Okay.
At affordable price. We are accompanying this chicken with hot garkinke. There will be fried yam.
Oh, Auntie Vicky, why did you decide to do this?
Just carry your lunch boat to the forecourt.
Right. Of Closac building. That's ministries.
Ministries.
Right.
I think Ministry of Transport back there, and then you find us there.
Right.
And so we are 8 years old. Women in Poultry Value Chain, WIVAC, is 8 years old.
Interesting. And that's the exciting activity that we are going to see there.
Yes.
Interesting. I'll come and talk more about that because I'm interested. You said
Please
grilled
come.
chicken.
Yes.
When you talk about grilled chicken, you've hurt me.
Yeah.
But let me come back to you. Assistance now, Francesca. We are looking at a lot about climate. We are trying to ensure that we are not destroying the climate as much as we used to, and all of that. Does that have any relation actually with poultry production?
Yes, I think that as we produce, we are conscious of those things. Even before you set up your poultry farm, the environmental protection unit will have to come in, make sure that your excess water is not disturbing, you are siting it at the right place. And so we are conscious of that. We are integrating our production into vegetable production. Some are using the manure to cultivate vegetables. And so you realize that we are not just polluting the environment. There's so much education. There are technologies, technology around now that takes the scent out so that we are not even disturbing our neighbors.
Right.
So the public health issues are out. You look at the climate here in Ghana because of the high temperatures. The heat stress normally affects our birds. And so those technologies, the feeding regime, and the type of equipment even to use technologically to produce the best with low mortality is integrated into our production process.
Okay, Francesca.
Yeah, so just to add
briefly.
just to add to what Victoria is saying, as you know, our project is talking about resilience. Resilience is one of the issues, and we know the impact of climate change, and so how we can be resilient, like she's saying. So